Okay, this is the Between part 11. I want to, first of all, pull up the threats. I was not ready, as it turns out, so give me a moment. Or at least on the GM facing, or the keeper facing documents anyway. And I have to pull up the unpublished threat as well, because that's a thing we're doing. So let me find that real fast. Apologies, this is riveting video. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about last time. Let's just recap where we're at. So the big thing that happened last time is you resolved the Figs Pigs threat. There was a big showdown with La Hortensia. It was an action-packed showdown in an opera house, and you would all probably be in a lot more trouble if you weren't working with Scotland Yard on that particular threat. It would probably be a much bigger mess for you, if not for that. I'm sure Scotland Yard is still not super happy about all the murder and violence that had to happen in order for the figs to be stopped, but it is what it is. So I think what I want to do now is go through the two threats that you've kind of been working on, and then I'm going to reintroduce the brand new one. And Brian, if you want to go ahead and take an experience point for the resolution of Figs Pigs, you can go ahead and do that. I think that seems fair. And then we will talk about what your character was up to in a minute. But for now, let's go through the threats. So the Whaley Camera. The Whaley Camera has been kind of ignored a little bit lately. We know that the Society Obscura has the Whaley Camera, which is your principal interest. You're theoretically interested in also getting the actress back, but you actually don't have to. The question there, it's a complexity 8, is what circumstances will cause someone photographed by the Whaley Camera to disappear? And that unlocks 2 opportunities. You can either reverse the process to bring Penelope Levy back and or use the camera to transport yourself to another dimension and make contact with the entity inside the camera. That is something you can do. You have 5 clues currently for that particular threat. The Creature of Cremorne Gardens, you did manage to answer the threshold question, and it turns out that the creature is real. It's real, but the people at Madame Tussauds are taking advantage of the rumors to gin up extra fear about it. So the creature is both real and a hoax in a way, but for our purposes, it's real. And so the new question, which is complexity 4, is what does the creature want? And that allows you to resolve the threat by luring the creature to you and either destroying it or convincing it to go back wherever it came from. And you currently have 3 clues available for that one. You have a bunch more, but you've already used them. And now we have this new threat, which I'll talk about in a moment. I want to first go back to the hunters, though. So I was thinking, Dr. Tagore, we could just account for your absence by just giving you 2 parts for the child. Does that seem reasonable?
Oh, sure. No call. Night move's good.
Yeah, I think that's just just kind of a sort of modified night move. If you want to just take 2 parts for the child and think of a scene to flashback to vis-a-vis your sister. While you're doing that, let's just take a look at everyone else's conditions. Willoughby, you have the Sons of Another World still. Mr. Gennadios, you have Drained and Broken. That doesn't seem great. And Mr. Turner, you have Most Beloved and The Song. Oh, you've actually been in contact with the creature via the song, so that's interesting. And Dr. Tagore has 3 conditions currently. Profoundly Disappointed, Solomon's Wisdom. We haven't seen much with that one. We'll see what that means later. And then Guilt. So those are all still there. And Dr. Tagore, if you want to do your little flashback, you can do it now, or you can wait till later. It's up to you.
Okay, I can. I also got a question for you.
Sure.
At the end of last session, I had enough experience for advancement or the prior session, I guess.
Mhm.
And I had a question about the infirmary. It says when the vulnerable move is triggered in the infirmary.
Mhm.
If my vulnerable move is the Turkish baths, is that?
It could be someone else's vice, right?
Okay, so it can be swigging brandy in the infirmary.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I suppose if you wanted to like create a spa-like situation in the infirmary, I would be okay with that as well. So
I warmed these towels in the steamer. Trust me.
precisely. That's kind of what I was thinking. But no, it could be anyone's vice with vulnerable move. So but as long as it's in the infirmary, I think you get like bonuses, right? You get like a bonus condition to clear or something like
Here's
that.
2 conditions, yeah.
Let's go ahead and give us the flashback. With what body parts did you take, first of all? And
I'm going with arms and feet.
Okay.
And kind of loosely tying this into the fish creature, with just Dottie and I playing in the river as children, kind of that splash, splash, splash down the sort of that water's edge, and playfully tossing water at each other on a hot day to cool off. I can remember the sort of the droplets of water hanging on the tips of her fingers, and the sunlight playing through that with almost a glow of electricity.
Nice. I love it. Thank you. So we're in a day phase, and we just started. I introduced the threat last time, but I'm gonna do it again because why not? Oh, also, I didn't do the recap for the mastermind. You're currently at 11 clues, so speeding right along towards facing Theodora. Let's talk about this new threat, though. It is the seamstress. A lot of details in this one, so pay close attention. Among academics, Sir Richard Harlow was a well-regarded, if eccentric, scholar of folklore, known for his vivid storytelling and far-fetched theories. To Hargrave House, he was a trusted friend whose expertise in fey lore and magic proved invaluable on numerous occasions. The news of his sudden death comes as a shock, even more the manner of his passing. Sir Harlow's body was found at his desk, strangely hollowed and preserved, wrapped head to toe in delicate silver thread. What's more, he was set to present a summary of his life's work at the Blue Feather Society, a private salon where curious minds explore the more esoteric subjects not discussed in formal institutions. Sir Harlow was convinced that creatures of the Fey realm, or the other crowd, had infiltrated London, and he supposedly had new evidence to support his theory. Now, a Ms. Abigail Walker, chair of the Blue Feather Society, reveals that Sir Harlow had been courting a Ms. Hazel Beaumont, a mysterious seamstress whose magnificent fashion designs, and apparently her company, have proved irresistible to a number of London's artistic and academic elite. Each one of her suitors have also vanished, though their bodies remain missing. Now, I posed this question, I think, to Mr. Turner, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I posed it to someone. Anyway, the question was, Hargrave House is familiar enough with Fey magic to recognize its manifestations in the manner of Sir Harlow's death. How do you know that Ms. Beaumont is no human but a dangerous Fey creature in disguise? I don't remember what the answer was, but we can have a new answer too. So it's fine. And go ahead.
I think I said that the vines were growing around her place.
Oh, that's right. There's rapid plant and flower growth. That's right. Good. So that unlocks 3 questions. The questions are, how is the creature ensnaring her victims? That's a complexity 4. It allows you to resolve the threat by allowing the hunter to be lured by the seamstress as bait, then capturing or destroying her. So it's an easy question to answer, easier question, but it's the more dangerous one by far. Complexity 6 is, what is the creature's true name? This is another way of resolving the threat. By learning the creature's true name, you gain power over her and dismantling the binding rituals which sustain her in the human realm. Or you resolve the threat by doing that. Fae names can take many forms. They can be a fleeting series of images, a song or poem, a word unknown to human tongues, or something else. The final question, which is also available at all times, is what does the creature truly want? It's a complexity 8. And here you can resolve the threat by striking a bargain with the creature in accordance with ancient Fae customs. So that is the most complex, but potentially most rewarding way of resolving the threat. And so that is where we're at with those questions. I'll get those noted. We also have and also mention that if you do make that deal, you get a new custom move called Draw the Veil. Now, we have a mask, an aspect of the Janus mask available here as well. It's called the Mask of Glamour. So I'm going to take a few minutes to update the threat sheet. I'm going to pause the video while I do that because I don't want people to be sitting here while I do that. Okay, put the notes in. And so you have quite a few leads between these various places and characters to sort of follow up on the seamstress threat if you wish. And I think with all that said and done, let's begin the day phase. Let's go over to the hunter thing. Okay, new threat done. Regular scenes commence and continue until I decide to move to the next phase. Let's go around the table and find out what everybody wants to do. So I'm going to go in the order of the sheet. Willoughby, what you're thinking for today?
Willoughby probably would follow Alexander's lead on if we're doing any investigation. I think that there's a conversation there that Willoughby's dying to have, so might be patiently waiting to see if she can, they can follow through the door. And,
I'll cut the line then and ask Mr. Gennadios, what do you want to do?
I think as much as I would like to get the creature sorted out, I think he'd be more interested in the camera. So probably go visit the society again.
Yeah, they're always good fun. Dr. Tagore.
I would love to do some vulnerable movement to clear one of my 3 conditions. If anybody else is in the mood for such.
Did you choose the infirmary?
I did choose the infirmary.
Okay, so your fancy infirmary.
Have sex with dark entities in the infirmary, or
yeah, exactly. I love the sort of fictional plausibilities that happen because of the various elements.
Right.
So.
I mean, maybe there's a book full of memento mori photographs that are for dissection purposes only.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, so I'd love to clear a condition. And in terms of investigation, I'm fine with either one. I've been a little more involved with the Whaley Camera than Cremorne Gardens, but so I would say I lean towards that unless somebody wants to pull me with them a different direction.
Mr. Turner, what do you want to do?
I like the idea of pursuing the Creature of Cremorne Gardens because I have the song. So maybe trying to actually look for the song in archives or something like that. Actually trying to, because it's probably playing in my head nonstop. So I've got some Close Encounters of the Third Kind to work out.
I think that's great.
you actually probably still have it stuck in your head because Willoughby keeps whistling fragments of it as they're working through the house.
Dr. Tagore, you'd be very proud of Mr. Turner because Mr. Turner actually conducted experiments in order to prove that the creature was real. So yeah. So why don't we go ahead and do that vulnerable move? It sounds like Dr. Tagore is requesting a move with either Mr. Turner or Mr. Gennadios, whoever that wants to be. Maybe whoever of you has a condition you want to clear, I suppose. Or maybe not. It's up to you.
If you're hanging on to the song for a bit, I could go.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind keeping the song, even though it might be the author of my doom.
So let's frame up the scene. This is going to take place in the infirmary then. What's the deal with the memento mori photographs? How is that being done in the infirmary?
Drew, my initial thought is that the photographs are present in sort of a tome of dissections and causes of death, but if you have a different idea.
No, that works. He'd want to see your work.
I love it. So maybe that's what you've been doing the last, days. Dr. Tagore is also getting your infirmary set up, right?
Yeah, I like this idea. And analyzing these for a way to kind of reconstruct the child from deconstructed bodies.
Yeah. Well, so let's have the scene. Role play.
All right.
Alexander will be, I think, just standing in the corner with the book at the desk open, just paging through, very intrigued.
I'm picturing, we've said before that my reconstruction of the body is taking place in some sort of little false basement below my chamber.
Yeah, that no one else knows about.
No one else knows about. And what I'm picturing now is, while you all were out investigating, I did some or had contracted some additions to passages in the house, so that from this infirmary there's like a cabinet that you can slide open and step into the sort of laboratory where the creature is being rebuilt. And that I'm a bit protective of this secret door, like kind of sort of deliberately positioning myself in its way so that you can't see the seam that's freshly sawn in the wall or something. Mr. Gennarios, I wanted you to see this newest addition to my library, about the Hargrave House's library. Truthfully, all materials here are shared equally, as we know. But I thought you'd really enjoy these photographs that are laid in as illustrations for this medical text.
Yes, in truth, they're a little more sterile than I prefer. Not much artistry in all of these pictures, but certainly fascinating subjects here.
Yes,
The
I think
manner of incidents quite varied.
Yes, I think sometimes the photographer just gets overwhelmed by the sight of gore, and they lose their artistic eye for the situation.
I think that would be easy to do. There is certainly a fair bit of it in here.
Conditions I'm clearing here. Oh yeah,
Let's take a look at your conditions. What do we?
Yeah, so let's try and clear up this guilt over this competitor. I have to be elusive here. I do find, for my purposes, these photographs are illustrative of so essentially the way tissues and bone connect, and were one ever to hypothetically try to bring dead tissue back to life, viewing the deconstruction as a means towards ultimately successful reconstruction, that we might get past mortality as a species and live forever.
Wouldn't that be exciting? Imagine the possibilities, unending life.
Yes, to see the aeons of time unfolding before one. So exciting. Do you think it would ever get boring?
I think anything can get boring if you don't spice it up every now and again. Change things.
You've traveled so far in your brief life that, where would you go if you had unlimited time? What ends of the earth would you explore?
Oh. Well, I think after all that I've seen, I would still settle here. There is something about London that speaks to me, calls me.
Let's talk about London briefly. The big news right now is the guards at Buckingham Palace who were murdered. You all don't know anything about the details of it. As players you do, as characters you do. But the guards were found, their well, there were several like rather disgusting scenes, but essentially they were eviscerated and torn apart, and that has caused a lot of fear, in the royal family, fear in the city. And Scotland Yard's been investigating, of course. And this may be something that eventually falls in Hargrave House's lap, who knows? But the thing that kind of sticks out to you as you maybe have a copy of the Morning Chronicle somewhere there in the infirmary, a note about this story: a pile of roses dyed sapphire blue was left at the door of the Queen's chamber in Buckingham Palace. This is thought to be a major clue as to who did this and what happened. You all know now that Theodora is probably involved. That's a free mastermind clue for you. Let's talk about conditions. What conditions are getting cleared here?
Aiming to clear guilt for sure, and then I kind of want to hold on to Solomon's wisdom and still see something interesting come from that. I sort of feel like with my newly appointed infirmary, I might overcome my profound disappointment in the Pig's abattoir.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, Brian?
The second part, that with my newly appointed infirmary, that I might overcome my profound disappointment in Pig's abattoir. Perhaps if,
indeed, yes.
Virgin Arias wants to compliment me on its amazing condition once or twice more, that would help.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you can clear those. I love it. Well, Mr. Gennadius, what are you going to clear?
Well, first off, he would absolutely compliment the amazing renovations here. And I think he's energized by this.
Oh, you actually get to clear them
artistic
both,
endeavor.
so yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because the infirmary.
cool. He's feeling much better then.
And Mr. Gennadius, are you going to stumble on a clue here, or are you going to invite Dr. Tagore to ask you a question about your past?
I think it would be fun to maybe actually answer somewhat straightforwardly to a question about his past.
Be thinking of your question, Dr. Tagore. I'm going to cut over to Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, where are you going to do this archival research at? University?
Yeah, it'd be fun to like consult some sort of music expert or something.
That's an interesting approach. Yeah, I like that a lot. So you're actually going to try to like interview someone then?
Yeah, maybe some professor on music, so that even if they don't know the exact song, they could maybe like break down components of it or,
I like
something.
it. We shall name this professor. Let's give him a good professory name. Professor Dalton Thenwicket. And Professor Dalton Thenwicket, who is a musicologist at the university. He's agreed to take a meeting with you today. When you get inside, let's have a paint the scene. As the camera swoops around Professor Thenwicket's office, how do we know that Professor Thenwicket is completely obsessed with music?
There's a large mural painting that's broken up, and it's like the evolution of the musical instrument.
Like, it almost sounds like it's almost like an inside joke of like making fun of the biology department or something, right? Or the anthropology department. It's good. Drew or Sarah or Brian?
There is the wallpaper is lined, and he has actually been using it to write bars of music all across the room.
Nice.
Can you give me the prompt again? I didn't catch all of it.
Oh, just how do we know this professor's obsessed with music?
I think he is wearing a hand-stitched, very fine silk cravat that has just the cheesiest music notes stitched onto it. Oh.
I'm glad even back then such things were. So you could get the music professor in your life a gift like that, right? My best friend who's a composer by trade, he always laments every birthday and Christmas. All the gifts are like music related gifts, like always.
Picturing that as this gentleman walks, that he is deliberately doing unusual time signatures with his feet.
That's a good detail. Mr. Turner, Professor Thenwicket says, he's wearing the cravat and he has his sort of mussed hair, and he's younger. He says, how can I help you today, sir? You said you had a pressing musical question to ask.
Yes, I've had something on the mind that I just can't get rid of. And it would help me to understand it, to get the earworm out, so to speak.
Well, so this is a piece of music that you need identified, or?
Yes, anything that you could tell me about it, I would welcome. I
Well,
don't know any.
Do you have the sheet music with you, or?
I suppose I'd have to. It's in my head, so I could whistle it or sing it or something.
Oh well, very, very well. Do you require accompaniment, or are you going to be doing this a cappella?
I don't know. What is the song like, Jason?
It's very strange and dissonant. It's not the kind of like it barely has a melody.
So I guess just a cappella.
I love it. I'm gonna actually. I think this is good. We'll do this as, I think it's the information move ultimately, but I'm gonna make it with vitality to see if your mind, if you're if you can kind of like, and you can make it happen, like if you can convey the music.
Sure. Okay.
Do you have a personal quarters item that might be helpful, or?
Ooh.
Or something from the cabinet even. You got 2 more uses there.
Oh yeah. Salt quartz. Oh, a chime?
Oh, there you go. Like that.
I'll use a chime.
And just add it to your thing and then mark it.
Sure.
And go ahead and do 3 dice.
Come on, Coriolis dice. Oh, yes. That is a 13.
Nice. You'll get a mastermind clue as well. We'll come back to that. So I want to, Willoughby, we have just a pause here because we're still kind of sorting out some stuff with Dr. Tagore and Mr. Genadia. So what do you want to do with your morning, Willoughby? What would you be doing? It could just be a little throwaway scene if you want. It's up to you.
Willoughby is noticeably absent from the household in the morning. They have been pacing London within a 5-block radius of the house, chain smoking and very solemn, having murdered 2 people in the last week. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in their own mind, and what the other characters haven't surmised is there's probably a reason that Willoughby was so bloodthirsty with the pigs.
Intriguing. So you're just sort of taking a walk then, ultimately?
I'm hoping that might lead to the direction of I've passed through the gardens one more time.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Take a information move with as you've described it. I think it's probably this is kind of those weird edge cases. I'm gonna say composure.
I would like to take advantage on that move using the jeweled cigarette case as I'm chain smoking. I don't know if that
Oh yeah, I
helps
love
me.
it.
It's
Oh
an
yeah,
item
yeah,
I'm
it inspires
using.
you or something. Yeah, yeah. To represent the cool calm that the cigarettes provide. Right.
I have a 10 plus
2, so 12.
12.
Another mastermind clue. Theodora
Goodness.
is coming out swinging. Good, we'll come back to that. And let's wrap up the scene with Dr. Tagore and Mr. Genadio. So what's your question, Dr. Tagore?
Oh, so Mr. Genarios, I've been corresponding with a Professor Mendel in Austria lately, and he has this theory about peas of all things, and that the parentage of one pea and another pea might commingle and then somehow yield different things with the next generation. And it brings me to your case.
Hold on, like an English sweet pea, like a pea? PEA?
Yes.
Okay.
PEA,
Just to make sure I understood. Okay.
The vegetable, yes.
Yeah.
And this brings me to your case that I'm so curious by your frankly stunning physical appearance. What did your parents do? What were they like?
They were fairly normal middle class people. My father was a leather worker. My mother sold his product at the market. We
Did
were
they have your physique? Did they, I assume that they're no longer living. Perhaps they are still alive.
Oh no, they have been gone for a very long time. But my father was a handsome man, I would say, yes. My mother, I don't remember very much, but I assume there is at least a small part of them in me.
The child of a leather worker, now an aristocrat. That's quite a swing and change.
I was granted many opportunities to practice upward mobility.
How much more do you want me to pry here?
I'm loving the scene. I think it's good. I mean, unless Mr. Genadios has anything else to say, I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Very well. Mr. Turner, let's take a look at your clues. Getting mastermind clue and a regular clue. Gotta find one. He says, I know it. The melodic structure, gosh, my friend would be so disappointed if I don't think of some good musical terms right now. There's actually a phrase I'm looking for, and it's like on the tip of my tongue. Chord progression. He's throwing out these words. He's like, it reminds me of like an old shanty. Give me a moment. And he begins digging around a pile of books. And he says, here we are. An ancient book of sailors' hymns, one of the first books ever printed. Funny they should use it for this. And he is flipping around, and he says, here we are. The notes are not the same, or the notation is not the same as what we're accustomed to in modern times, but he's sort of like reciting it back, and he's like, yes, this is it. And he says, so it's unusual. I don't think, I mean, this is not the sort of music that anyone sings anymore. It's not. Where did you hear it?
On the beach.
How unusual.
It came to me like a fever dream.
Intriguing. Well, would you like to keep this?
Absolutely, if I could.
And And basically, the clue is just an ancient pamphlet of sailors' hymns.
Excellent. I knew Thenwicked would know his stuff.
Mhm. I owe you a mastermind clue as well. He has in his office a small portrait painted of a woman who looks. No, I take that back. You're flipping through the book of sailors' hymns, maybe just idly, and you see a drawing, but newer than the rest of the book. Something's been drawn on it on a page. It is a woman sailor, but it looks like Theodora. And it's next to a hymn called The Pirate Queen's Lament. How do you feel upon seeing this drawing that definitely looks like Theodora?
Probably excited, like
Yeah.
the discovery of a clue.
It is intriguing for sure. But we'll call that the scene. Let me make a note of the mastermind clue. And let me touch base with Willoughby as well. Willoughby, you are wandering around the pleasure gardens, smoking. And let me take a look at the clues we have currently so I don't double up.
I can't say that Willoughby's actively investigating, but at a certain point they stumble upon something.
You kick something. Something.
Literally.
Yeah, you kick it and you look, and it's a very large, very valuable, flawless pearl. Not that big, but pretty big, yeah. And that's really unusual. It's not a piece of jewelry, like there's no fastenings or anything, and it's too big anyway. How unusual, you know? It's got to be a connection to the creature. I owe you a mastermind clue as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I might just like sit at the spot. I'm on the beach, on the sidewalk, or wherever I stumbled into it. I might just sit on the nearby bench and ponder it while I continue to smoke, staring out into the ocean, wondering where on earth it could have come from.
Yeah, I think it's actually in the like inside the pleasure gardens. Like, so you're sitting on a bench there. Yeah,
Sure.
Sitting on a bench, and you overhear a conversation between two women, two upper-class ladies. Well, all I know is if she ever invited me out to that dreadful manor, I'd be careful about drinking whenever I was served. Oh, Mildred, don't be ridiculous. Are you trying to suggest that she poisoned her guest? Well, what other explanation is there, Beatrice? And they're kind of going on and on about this. And you pick up that a guest, a social rival of Theodora's, at some point in the past, who knows when exactly, fell deathly ill shortly after tea with Theodora. You know who I think did it? I think it's that Elmore, her servant. He's old and can barely get around, but you don't need vigor to drop arsenic tea, do you? That's the deal. Be careful if you ever take tea at Brathwaite Hall. And make a note of that as well. And so, Mr. Gennadios and Dr. Tagore, where are you headed now? Let's talk to Mr. Gennadios. Over to the Society Obscura?
I think so, yeah.
And Willoughby, you can join the scene whenever with my person Friday if you need to. So, you know, Dr. Tagore, where are you going? Are you going back to the Society Obscura as well, or somewhere
I
different?
think so too. I was just looking at clues
Yeah.
to see if we have any other directions to go. Like, are there other spots we should be investigating relative to this?
Well, and you're the one who has the most like direct connection to the Society Obscura as well, both a romantic connection with Periwinkle and also I think you're like an unofficial, maybe official member of the club. So
Yeah.
Periwinkle answers the door. He is, how is he dressed? He is currently dressed in a can-can girl outfit. Big frilly dress, long stripy stockings, corset. He's always corseted. And a rather ostentatious, slightly askew wig and powder and rouge on his cheeks. And he says, "Oh, Dr. Tagore, it's been so long. Please, come in, come in."
Dashing as ever, Mr. Periwinkle.
And he looks at you, Alexander, and says, "And you too, sir."
Alexander will just nod with a very brittle smile and say, "My thanks."
I haven't forgotten how you helped me, you know, with that terrible fig.
Good.
Yeah, Willoughby got no credit there. And he says, shall I go and get someone for you, or are you just, how can I help you?
Does the society have a library we can poke at for a moment? We'll do a little bit of research.
Oh, well, it's the sort of library that it is in places like this, tawdry novels and sort of historical tomes made to give the owner the appearance of curiosity and education. It's a collection mostly assembled for its ability to look like old books.
Yes, I'm curious about the ones that are truly old.
Well, you're welcome to take a look. And he will escort you into the library, which is kind of more of a salon. Mr. Gennadios, are you here reading books as well this fine afternoon?
Yes, perhaps if they encounter anything not in the modern tongue, he could be of use.
Mm. He says, "Well, I shall go and tell, hold on. I shall go and tell the Abernethys that you're here. They'll want to come say hello." And he leaves you there. So, Dr. Tagore, what do you do?
I'm just sort of looking at our existing clues, and we overheard two members of the Society Obscura speaking in the dead language. And I'm kind of curious if we can find a tome with early diagrams or trying to dig up other clues, basically.
And Mr. Gennadios, same thing, just going through books, or are you doing something else?
I think he would like to examine the floors and walls to see if there's signs that any of the shelves move.
Interesting. I think it's a reason roll for both of you. Information move. If you have any personal quarters items that would be helpful, by all means, use those as well.
Rolling separately or together?
No, two different rolls.
Could be using my opera glasses to try and get a closer look at things.
Sure, yeah. You mark it, roll 3.
That's 10.
We'll come back to that. Dr. Tagore, what'd you got?
I've got a 8 without using items from my quarters. The only thing I can vaguely tie in is that grimoire from the coven. Don't know if it really helps me in tracking down.
Yeah, it might be a little disconnected, but
Neat.
All right, good. We'll come back to that. So, Mr. Turner, what do you do once you're done with Professor Thunderbicket?
Oh, maybe try to find. I guess it depends how. Oh, this is pretty ancient. I was going to say I would try to find in archives recreations of the song, but if it's so old, it probably wasn't recorded on vinyl or anything, right?
I think you have the strongest evidence you're going to ever get for this.
Yeah, fair enough. Then maybe just go back to the sea and try to use those hymns to call it.
Oh, intriguing. Okay. Very good. You might run into Willoughby while you're there. Let's just have a scene with you and Willoughby, sort of on the beach. Willoughby having found a pearl that's probably so valuable, they can, leave their life of service forever.
Willoughby, I've found something of note in this old dusty book.
Willoughby would have been considering the pearl and perhaps even quietly humming the song under their breath. And in looking at the music is just taken. How did you know? How did you?
I went to an expert and sang the song as best I could.
Well, obviously you have a marvelous voice.
Willoughby, I think I'm going to give you the condition of the song as well.
Excellent.
And then I'll dramatically turn to the page of the Pirate Queen. Da da da.
Oh my. Is there nothing this woman does not get up to? Do you think there could be a connection between her and the creature?
I think there must be.
Fascinating.
It is a different song for what it's worth.
Still, motivated thinking.
Yeah, well, so your plan is to actually sort of like just try to sing some of the songs out into the ocean to see what happens?
Yeah, because it has lyrics and stuff now, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that will be some kind of pull. Who knows, worth a shot. Last time it was just a record and I got some bubbles, so.
Yeah.
Willoughby is going to sit and watch bemusedly while this happens.
Very good. I love it. Take an information move with, this time I think it's reason.
Okay.
And you can have if you want to mark the book, you can add the book to your quarters and mark it as well, if you wish, or just otherwise add to your quarters.
Oh, excellent. I have a 0, but that's a 10.
Very good.
The book.
That's with 3 dice?
Yes, yeah. I rolled the last one after the fact and it was a 4.
Okay. Nice. we will come back to that as well. Let's go check in with Mr. Gennadios and Dr. Tagore, but first we're going to take a 5-minute break. Clues, clues, clues. So, Mr. Gennadios, you were doing more of like a physical examination of the space, maybe looking for secret things in the architecture, which I think is great. I will tell you that. I would also note that this house might be a great place to do the old bones move too, because you know the Society Obscura has some old bones. There are almost certainly some things going on here. So if you have the Cosmic Passage mark, that'd be a good thing to do. But in any case, you got a 10, right?
Yes.
You are looking around. Honestly, the only thing that really like sticks out to you as maybe having some sort of symbolic importance, because certainly you don't find any like secret passages or anything like that, but you see something that might have some symbolic importance, which is one of the little like a little lantern on a table has a series of veils layered atop it, one after the other. The bottommost layer is white, then silver, then gold, then black. Perhaps the colors are relevant, perhaps the sequence is relevant, but in any case, that's what you find.
That was white, gold, silver, black.
I'm gonna write it down. And you got a 7 to 9, right, Dr. Tagore?
Correct.
You were also poking around books, going through books, trying to find something. Periwinkle wasn't lying. The books here are not super like interesting or academic. They're not even arranged in any particular way. The Society Obscura is mostly just concerned with the books looking like old books. They photograph better, right? It's for scenes where they need the old book look. And so you're not really getting anywhere there. But you do start to pick up on the smell of warm spices, clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, that kind of thing. And maybe this is just Periwinkle's preparing lunch, who knows? But you follow it for a little bit, and you follow it into that room, the astral plane room. And when you open the door, it's very strong. Either they've burned some kind of incense with these fragrance profiles, or this stuff is literally hidden somewhere in the room. But it's very, very strong, overwhelming smell of warm fragrances, of warm spices. And then as you come back out into the hall, someone rings the bell at the door. Dung, 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 dung. You don't see Periwinkle. What do?
I'll go ahead and open it and see who's there and probably make apologies depending upon their social standing.
There are, standing at the door once you open it, A pair of women. They are wearing black lace veils over their face, a bit of a, perhaps a reminder of the coven, but not the coven, because the coven's destroyed. But they say, in unison, "We are the sisters Sendula. We were told that someone here wanted us to take their measurements."
Definitely. Come on in. I'm sorry the manservant is called away for something at the moment.
We do not normally get out during the day. We are always very, very busy in our shop.
Well, let's step in here and you can take my measurements and I'll feed them to the astral plane room.
You take them there?
Sure, let's find out what they're measuring.
They say, "Sir, is it you whose measurements we are taking? We were led to believe that our employer was going to be making a gown."
Oh. I thought you were here to measure lifespan or other things. I'm, used to various matters occult and, the lace threw me off.
We are neither the Fates nor the Norns, though we're familiar with their work.
But you do custom work. I'm going to need a gown in the near future. Unusual sizing, perhaps, but do you have a card? I might need to contract you in the near future.
They look at each other and say, "We do not, but go to Seville Row. You'll find our shop. It will call out to you at the right moment."
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Now, who are we here to take measurements of?
Oh my goodness.
Periwinkle bursts in and says, "That would be me. Sorry." And he takes the sister Sendula away, and he says, "I thought Ms. Beaumont would be here." And they say, "No, she is always very busy at her sewing." And they take Periwinkle away to a room. Mr. Turner, what'd you get on your die roll?
A 10.
Right. I have not given you the clue yet, yeah? Yes.
No.
Okay. Let us go to the list. Do you have the Cosmic Passage marked?
I believe so. Yes.
As you sing out the songs, I think your eyes close at a certain point as you get into it. And then when you open your eyes, standing in front of you is a woman whose black hair is wet and matted to the sides of her face. And she's covered in kelp and seaweed. And her body has a pale, slightly distended quality to the skin. And she looks at you curiously and opens her mouth, and black, brackish water dribbles out down her chin. And she says, in a voice that sounds like her lungs are filled with water, a gurgling sound, "You are not my lover." How do you feel? And Willoughby, you don't see any of this unless you have the cosmic passage marked. And you don't.
I think I would be mixed, disappointed, and afraid. This ain't no sea creature.
You can take frightened for now as a condition. And then she's gone. And that's your clue.
I turn to Willoughby and I say, wrong song.
The clue is apparition of a drowned woman looking for her lover.
Or possibly two, right?
Two lovers or two?
No, two. The song was two,
Gargantues are your
right?
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Willoughby, what are you doing in the meantime? Anything? Just hanging back?
I'm hanging back. It's been a weird day.
You can tell that Mr. Turner's seeing something or talking to someone or reacting to something, but you can't see it.
I didn't see what he was reacting to, but he was
You
physically.
can tell he's reacting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would probably go over and put a hand on his shoulder. Did you give yourself a scare? Hand him my flask.
Probably when you touch me, I jump out of my skin a little bit, and that's what puts the apparition out of my eyes or whatever. And I say, I've just seen the strangest thing. And I
Stranger than usual? Trying to look real close in your eyes.
Well, more abrasive at least. And I'll tell you, what I saw. I suppose it's not the creature I expected, but a creature nonetheless.
Yes. Well, that can't be good.
But altogether too real.
Very good. Oh, anything else, Willoughby? Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
Mr. Jadius, what are you doing right now?
Seeing that Periwinkle is occupied and that the Abernathy's have yet to make an appearance, I think, is there like a basement or someplace that might be like a storage room?
There is. They probably have it like loaded up with props, right?
I think he'd try exploring there. Someplace the public wouldn't normally get to go.
Let's have a paint the scene. What props do we see that, or what other scenarios are suggested by the props down in the basement? The ones we've seen so far are jungle, Maharaja's palace, Mount Olympus, Versailles, the astral plane. What are some others that we see? Who wants to go first?
I see a lot of Mongolian fur, kind of very Attila the Hun scape.
Nice.
Maybe
Like
pig.
Go
Go ahead.
Maybe like a pagan ritual-esque type stuff, like strange outfits with like that harken back to Figs Pigs type stuff, like
like mock.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. That'd be a little alarming if you saw some mock accoutrement down there. What were you going to say, Drew?
Like a normal Victorian house furnishings and things, but it's all about 1/2 to 3/4 size to make the subject look huge.
That's good. Yeah.
What's amazing, Drew, is I was going the exact opposite direction. I was like a child's rocking horse in a crib, but supersized to the point that it's inexplicable how they got into the basement. They would not fit through that stairwell. Sort of a child's nursery, oversized.
So you're down in this space, Mr. Jadios. What do you do?
Besides the props, I think I would look for any boxes of just like gear, see if maybe they've hidden something in the obvious place.
Yeah, go for it. Take your information move with reason.
5.
We'll come back to that. And Dr. Tagore, what do you do after Periwinkle gets whisked away, or after Periwinkle whisks away the sister Sindula,
I had
who,
tentatively
by
tried to
the way, apparently work for Ms. Beaumont. So.
Yeah. By the way, does that constitute a clue for the seamstress or no?
No.
Okay. I had tried to explore upstairs earlier during the party and was thwarted by Mr. Abernathy. I think I might try that once more. Go upstairs, see what I can find.
Yeah. You go upstairs, and I'm sorry.
Maybe throw in the old bones move. It seems appropriate.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to do that. Let's read that move real quick. When you have the cosmic passage marked and touch, listen to, or otherwise attune to a building's architectural details, roll a sensitivity.
So, do you need a description of what architectural details I'm engaged?
Well, I'm going to have you narrate the scene at some point, but yeah.
All right. What have we got? We've got the sensitivities 2, so that makes it a 10.
Nice.
Yes, 10.
On a hit, a ghost will appear and answer a single question you pose to it, or perform a small task, your choice. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And on a 10 plus, the ghost won't ask for anything in return. But give me just the moment leading up to the ghost. Like, what does this look like? What are you doing?
There's it kind of in this time period, a loose theory of whether somebody's eyes record the moment of their death, like the eye fixes what it's focused on, and there's some way to record that. I'm looking at the panes of glass in the building and trying to see if there's like an echo of Penelope Levy left behind on the glass.
I like it. That's good. Let's sit on that for a moment. I'm going to do one more scene with Mr. Turner and Willoughby, either separately or together. Willoughby, what do you want to do next?
At this point, having comforted Mr. Turner, feeling like he's in no particular danger, Willoughby was really looking to be on their own today, so they'll start wandering in general into London. And I think that it will allow them the time to show up in the obscura, either in the basement or the servants' quarters, and then kind of work their way into the building.
I like that.
Perhaps even passing the sisters, because I believe one of our clues about the Whaley Camera was also baking spices. So now Willoughby's trying to tie together things that don't necessarily belong.
Did I double up on clues or something?
Well, it was coming from the astral plane room, so that maybe
Right,
other
yeah.
dimensions have a particular smell.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so let's just say you're walking through London right now, making your way to the Society Obscura, which I think is a good move. Maybe even take a cab at some point, but in any case, you're in the neighborhood. Give me a moment. I want to go over some. I'm going to grab a moment while we have a moment. As you are walking through the city, Willoughby, it's starting to change. The color is draining away, leaving sepia tones behind. I'm curious, just to get your thoughts here.
I'm not sure if Willoughby would find it all that strange and not entirely discern whether it is in their mind or actually happening, especially with the other Londons and worlds and everything swirling in their brain right now. They're seeing maps of Londons that can't be and wondering if maybe throughout their day drinking might just be imagining this, might be just a creative expression.
You arrive at the Society Obscura at the precise moment that the Sisters Sendula are leaving. They step out, and they're, as I described them before, but unlike everything in your vision right now, they're in color. They have, well, they're wearing all black, but they also have like,
So that was my question, is
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just, they're black, they're not very dark brown. That's the,
right, exactly. Yeah, it's actual black, but also they have like, maybe little pieces of jewelry or something that like have color, right? But in any case, you can tell that they stand out. And you meet them sort of face to face. What do you do?
incline my head and then look back up.
They say, "Forgive us for saying so, but you have a very interesting perspective on personal fashion."
Willoughby does smile at this and adjusts the number of ruffles happening today.
They flank you.
Oh, my.
"Come to our shop tonight, and we shall make something for you most daring."
Forgive me for asking, but, and I kind of lean in, do you work with Miss Beaumont?
And they lean in, and they whisper to you simultaneously, "Yes."
May I bring a guest? My employer is equally as daring in fashion, if not more so.
And they take your hand, both. They take your hands and they say, "You'll know us when you find us." And they go.
My sincere thanks. Make my way to the door of the house.
"Mr. Turner, what are you up to?"
I kind of like the idea of, as I watched Willoughby walk away, I got like stuck in sort of like a trance where I'm trying to like puzzle things out, and it's almost like a time lapse where like the day moves to night and I'm standing in the same exact spot, and I hadn't realized that Willoughby had even left or something.
That's nice. So do you want to do anything else though, or is that just a little bit of color for us here?
I don't think
Yeah, that's fine.
mechanically that's anything.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's not, but it's okay. But if you have nothing else, we'll just wrap up at Society Obscura.
Unless I'm facing my fear.
I don't think so. So, good. Mr. Giannis, you got a 5, right? Yeah. We'll
Yep.
deal with that in a moment. Let's go to Dr. Tagore first. Dr. Tagore, you are walking past a mirror in the upstairs hall as you run your fingers along the walls. And when you walk past it, out of your peripheral vision, you realize that it's not you who's walking past in the reflection. There's hair, auburn, long, porcelain cheek. You step past and maybe have to take a double take. But what do you do?
Pause and turn to the reflection and say, "Just a moment. I I have a question for you.
The person in the reflection turns. She is a quite striking woman. And she says, I'm happy to answer your question, but we have to hurry. I'm due back at the theater any moment now. I'm already running late.
Tell me, in your time in your silvery void there, how many like you have vanished due to this Whaley Camera?
She says, you speak such strange words, sir. I don't know the meaning of them. But if you must know, there are lots of us here, wandering about. Some of them are very, very strange looking, if I'm being perfectly honest. And no one's very talkative.
You don't seem distressed by your circumstances, though.
I'm more distressed about being late.
What's your performance this evening?
Oh, well, and she sort of, she says, we're doing a fascinating new show. Fascinating. And here I need to look at the clues that you've already gotten. She says, I'm not supposed to talk about it yet, but you seem trustworthy. It's called The Ecstasies of Pythia. There's a script right behind you there on that table.
Right.
And if you look, there is indeed a script on the table.
And what's your role in the performance? Seems like
Well,
you'd be the lead.
I am the star, of course. And she begins to, like, she's going to go into what she, what she's seen. But then you notice something looming behind her, something shadowy, dark shadowy tendrils looming. And she says, well, in the first act, we meet my character when she's about to tell you the bit, and then these tendrils just lash around her and her eyes widen and she just gets pulled away out of sight.
Okay.
But that's your clue. A play, The Ecstasies of Pythia. And let's note that down. Oh, somebody got it already. Great. Meanwhile, down in the basement, yeah. Down in the basement, the room quite suddenly catches on fire. It's fast and intense. Things are just bursting into flames, Mr. Gennadios. An object in your hand bursts into flames and you have to drop it. And flames are licking up the sides of the walls rapidly. The stairway is engulfed. Willoughby, this might be an opportunity to save Mr. Gennadios. If you want to use my person for
On it. Just looking for an item that would be of use.
yeah. Well, you can make it up. Like it doesn't have to be something on your person. Yeah.
I would save that because I will put on a mask if that's okay.
You can put on a mask, absolutely, to bump it up. In which case, You get your clue, but we'll talk about the complication in a moment.
It could still be fire, so hold on, Willoughby.
yeah. I've got an idea. A strange thing down in the basement. An orrery. Do you know what an orrery is? Like
I do.
little, for people watching the video, like a mechanical model of planets. Except these planets are they're not planets that you recognize from any cosmological treatise, but rather they seem to be labeled. They are like how to describe it? 7 realms, 7 celestial realms is what the orrery depicts, and their relationships to one another. But that's your clue. And as you are holding it in your hand, touching it, it superheats and burns your hands. And you take the condition, burned hands. Willoughby, you are now inside the Society Obscura. You might hear Mr. Genadios cry out from down in the basement.
I think after the Figs Pigs fiasco, Willoughby might also be very sensitive to the smell of burning human flesh. I would go downstairs and see if I could be of aid to my employer. If I used my Person Friday skill in that moment, I could appear with some sort of balm salve.
I like it. Yeah. I like that. I don't need a die roll, but I'll let you clear that condition, Mr. Genadios. But let's just have the scene though.
What on earth happened to you, sir?
As usual, I have no adequate explanation. I found this device and it grew unreasonably hot.
Willoughby is going to have the salve in one hand and be completely distracted by this orrery of what could only be described as multiple dimensions with all of the suns and everything that is currently happening. Willoughby is very fascinated. This heated to your touch?
Yes, it was fine when I picked it up, but
I press
not for
one
long.
finger to the edge of it.
It's cold.
Well, here, let me help you with this. Why on earth that should have happened, I don't know. I begin to slowly peel up your sleeves and try and pull the burnt parts of your cuffs away.
He'll hold his hand out and just watch Willoughby carefully.
No eye contact, only paying attention to your hands.
Dr. Tagore, while you're upstairs, a door opens and Periwinkle is standing in it. He's dressed in a sailor's outfit. And he says, "Ahoy, Captain. The Abernethys can't meet you today. They're a little busy. Looks like I have some shore leave for the rest of the afternoon." Insert joke about docking your ship. Yeah. Bringing your ship into port.
Yes.
He says, he kind of is inviting you in.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a great time with Periwinkle before. I may as well slip away for a few indiscreet moments.
Indeed, indeed. Mr. Turner, you are walking back through Cremorne Gardens. Maybe getting ready to leave, I don't know. And there's like a little shooting gallery there, right? And there is one fellow there who is, everyone's gathered around because he's a crack shot. I mean, bottles are just pop, pop, pop. And he's using his own gun, not the little rifle that they give you. And everyone's like, oh, very good, very good. And this man who is, I'll describe him for you. He is wearing a tweed suit. He has pale, oily flesh. He says, would you say I'm an excellent shot for a cobbler? And everyone sort of like nods. And then he puts the gun away. And he calls out to you, Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, could I perhaps delay you for a moment?
Do we know each other?
No.
Oh. Of course, but you've caught me at a disadvantage. I seem to have forgotten your name.
He says, would it surprise you if I said my name was Higgins, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know. Would it surprise me, Jason? Okay. That's a fine name.
He says, are you and your companions going to continue to be a thorn in my employer's side? Do you know what happens to people who cross her? What if I told you I happen when people cross her?
I would believe you.
Do you suppose I have a gun in my coat? And would you guess I'm a very good shot?
And do you know that we are working with Scotland Yard at the moment?
He smiles. Who isn't? And he slaps you on the back and continues on.
I'm even more frightened. My frightened is accentuated.
Indeed. Let's end the day phase there and go to the dusk. A dusk phase. Playbook moves. All right, Mother, you have to make some decisions. Are you going to do either night work or the Resurrectionists tonight?
Are we trying to resolve any threats tonight or just advance the questions further?
We'll find out at some point. If somebody wants to, if you want to do answer a question, we can do answer a question right now as well. So,
remind me of the dice mechanics. Each clue we use gives us a bonus on the die roll.
Yeah, you subtract the complexity and then add in the number of clues that you work into it. So basically, right now on the Creature of Cremorne Gardens, you have 6 available clues, and the complexity is 4. So if you used all the clues, you'd have a +2. If you can work them all in.
And that might lead, no, wait, this is resolving it. Okay, good.
And threats can only be resolved at night. So that's another thing to be aware of. But if you want to go ahead and answer a question now, because you do have a fair number of clues here, I think, yeah, now's a good time to do it.
So, all right, so Cremorne Gardens, we could answer the question of what does the creature want? Whaley Camera, kind of going big here.
You have a lot on Whaley Camera too. You could probably figure that one out as well. What circumstances will cause someone photographed by the camera to disappear?
What do y'all think?
Well, I think we absolutely should answer at least one, if not both.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I have an idea about the fish person, but I don't have any idea about the cameras.
We had been going back and forth on some theories on Cremorne Gardens in the chat, so why don't we start there and see if we can knock it out?
Also, Mr. Turner or Fraser, I guess, what's your theory here?
Where I would like it to be is that the creature is the one who was poisoned by Theodora, or I guess her manservant, and that somehow that changed them into the monster. But what the creature craves, I think, is it's searching for Theodora in its own way.
Some sort of vengeance
Yeah.
from the social rival, yeah.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
Yeah, rather than die, it's schlepping about looking for Theodora or something orbiting Theodora in order to get to her.
Yeah, because we know that Theodora used to be a pirate queen. We know that that's her past, right?
Yeah, and I also think that it makes sense that the creature came to me too, because I probably have some, like, it maybe senses some tie to Theodora through me as well.
Well, we don't know that what the apparition was the creature either. That could be an unconnected thing, or connected but not, that may not be the creature itself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Fraser, given how many of our clues are like ancient and or of the deep, I don't know if we can explain enough of them with the rival being turned into the fish person.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of this here where, as pirate queen, Theodora pissed off an ancient fish creature who is now in London seeking her, trying to have vengeance. I think that there's a lot to support that.
Yeah.
Or she could have turned him into a fish creature, but there's like a whole society of them underwater too.
Merlor. I'm digging it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's neat. And I know full well that all of the context isn't supported by the clues. I just wanted to verbalize it because I found it fun.
This is a safe space for offering thoughts and theories, however you want to do it. Okay, so this is an interesting theory. So if I understand your theory correctly, Theodora did something to piss the creature off, and it's now here looking for her, or having some sort of
revenge scheme,
revenge going on or something, or maybe it's okay, that's interesting. Okay, and does everyone sort of agree with the basic contours of this being the theory? Okay, then let's talk about the clues. I mean, the first clue is pretty straightforward because the song is relevant to the creature. The scrimshaw of a fishman rising from the ocean. I'm curious, like, how that connects up, I guess. Is there something particular about the story being told?
The visual clues from the ancient pamphlet of sailor hymns that included an illustration of Theodora that looked very similar to Theodora is done in a similar style.
Oh, good.
Is what is carved onto the scrimshaw.
I'm into that. So let's click those three for now.
I was going to toss out the scrimshaw was carved by an eyewitness who saw, like, some sailor sitting on the dock saw the fish beast.
Yeah. What about the briny smell coming from the banquet hall? Is there like evidence that Theodora was in the banquet hall at some point, or something like that? I don't know.
Searching.
They're searching. They're looking for Theodora or a connection to Theodora.
And the banquet hall was the highest density of people, so the fish creature goes there to like look.
Right, just for density of people. Okay, I like that. And well, what about the apparition in the pearl?
What if the pearl was given to somebody to bribe them for silence, and yet they, terrified of keeping it, discarded it?
Silence from whom?
Like an eyewitness, like the fish beast was seen by somebody. The fish beast says, "Keep your mouth shut. Here's this pearl."
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
Gave a gift from the deep. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, but this is probably cursed. I don't want that drop it and run away.
I like a
Ew,
stiffoo, but
fish
here's a
man
pearl.
touched it.
Intriguing. I'm into that. I think I want to develop that one a little bit more. What about the apparition? I think that feels like the most important thing to sort of resolve here. Like, is the apparition related to what Theodora did, maybe?
The person she killed to piss off the fish monster in the first place.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So give us some, let's have some context that we didn't see on screen then. Like, what did we learn about this person? Is there something in the hymnal that indicates who this person might be, possibly?
Family tree written into the frontispiece.
That's pretty good.
We didn't describe any of the song that was next. Like, we didn't describe any of the text of the Pirate Queen's Lament. So maybe part of that is her penchants for throwing girlfriends overboard or something to that effect of like, this is her chosen modus operandi. When somebody betrays her, your loved one goes into the ocean.
And that's interesting because like the song would have had to have been written about another pirate queen, right? And someone drew the picture in because they're like, this is Theodora, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we think that the Pirate Queen's Lament song suggests that Theodora used to throw people overboard as a method of execution, and that perhaps this woman was thrown overboard. So who was the woman to the creature?
I was thinking the woman would be Theodora's lover that was cast overboard. And so Theodora is the lover that she's looking for.
And the apparition is the creature then?
Yeah, the apparition is my interpretation of the creature anyway, through my brain.
Oh, I see. So Theodora threw her overboard and she sort of like became a fish person then.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, interesting. So the fish creature is more of like a revenant then in that sense, more than like a literal like
Mer person.
Right. Yeah. Intriguing.
I like that a lot, actually.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah, I'm super into that. I think I just want to like really solidify some of these then. I think the one that I haven't been able to quite, I love the idea of the pearl, but it feels like a little too disconnected. Like what might have happened that you learned outside of our purview that confirms that the pearl was given to someone as like, here, be silent, or hey, maybe help me even. Because otherwise it's just a pearl, a very nice pearl, but a pearl.
Could it be something that they knew Willoughby would pick up, and they know that Willoughby is connected to Theodora somehow, so that it would like somehow make its way to Theodora, like as a threat or.
So Willoughby was in Cremorne Gardens the day that they overheard.
You were there a lot too.
You probably spent
more time. You spent more time in Cremorne Gardens.
I was there more than anybody else.
Yeah.
You think it could be targeting me, saying like, "Here is a thing," then they'd somehow track that pearl to get to the Braithwaite woman, or I guess,
or it's symbolically attached to it, so that if Theodora sees the pearl, then some information is conveyed to Theodora from that.
Oh,
I like that. So then
that's
if we
pretty good.
Throw out my idea of an eyewitness that the creature itself rolled the pearl towards Willoughby. Willoughby was too busy smoking and daydreaming to realize it was rolled right in front of them.
Interesting. I like that, because the creature knows that you have a connection to Theodora and it's trying to send a message to Theodora. That's
considering how much Theodora likes sapphires, perhaps there is some jeweled significance that we as the investigators could not possibly understand.
Right, yeah. Intriguing. Okay, I'm feeling this pretty well. So let's recap. The young woman whistling the song is just more confirmation of the song and the importance of the song. The scrimshaw looks similar to the drawings in the hymnal. The briny smell indicates that the creature was looking in the most like people dense place on Cremorne Gardens. Obviously the pamphlet of Sailor's Hymns is our sort of key piece of evidence here. the pearl as you've just described it. And then we think ultimately what truly really happened is Theodora threw her lover overboard. And this is her lover, like, coming back as a revenant, essentially. A sort of, she's become a creature of the deep, right? I think that's pretty fascinating.
It'd be fun if the pearl extended the creature's range or something too. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think we could do some fun stuff with it. That's 6, so that would put you at a +2. It feels pretty solid, unless anybody has any other thoughts or any other like shadings or nuance they want to throw in there.
And we don't have a mask for this one to use either, right?
It's used already.
We used it.
Yeah. So whoever wants to roll it, Willoughby, why don't you roll? 2d6 + 2.
2 4s. I got an 8, 10 total.
Very good. And tell you what, the 12 plus would be great on this one, because this would be a great one for Theodore to show up in. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but
everybody has to spend mask, but everybody's spend mask. Mr. Turner doesn't really have the space to do it, but
yeah, but I'm fine because I'm aiming towards being destroyed.
Yeah, I know.
Willoughby does not want to. Willoughby, no. I don't think, wants to mark a mask for this.
Fair enough. And so that is correctly answered. Did you want to do the Whaley camera as well, or are we going to have a break on theorizing?
I think we're in a good place to answer it.
Yeah.
If you want to.
Do we want to take our 5 and then do another round to answer the question?
We definitely can. Yeah. We'll take 5. We'll come back. And this is a tricky one because you have to actually describe a process here using these clues. So it's going to be really weird, go into weird places. It's not really like a theory as much as it is a process that you're kind of describing. So
well, if nobody comes back with a real humdinger of an idea, then we'll let Jason torture us in the next phase.
Let's take 5. So it sounds like you want to go ahead and answer the question for the Whaley camera to the only question, which is what circumstances will cause someone photographed by the camera to disappear? If you'll recall, the members of the Society Obscura know, but they can't remember the details because it comes to them in a dream and then they forget, right? So you're all basically kind of trying to reconstruct based off the clues they've sprinkled around or have left over in the house. You're trying to like reconstruct what the process is, right? Essentially from just the environment. And so let's review the clues first that you have. You currently have 9. And that is, the first clue I think was mostly just showing that this is this is something that you can only do if you are in the higher orders, the higher levels of initiation in the Society Obscura, which means it's probably the Abernethys are the ones doing it. 2 members of the Society Obscura were speaking in a dead language. We have the albino peacock in a crystal cage. Dying to know what that does. There was a bronze pyramid that was warm to the touch. We have the corrupted metal, which we just talked about in the break. There's the series of veils, white, silver, gold, and black. The warm spice smell coming from the astral plane room. There was a script, the ecstasies of Pythia, and then the orrery depicting the 7 celestial realms. The super hot thing is that's not actually a part of the clue. That was just the entity attacking you. So I do want to know, I'm dying to know the process here. This is so weird. I'm like, it's intentionally very hard, as I'm curious what you all come up with.
First, I'd like to suggest that the albino peacock and perhaps the corrupted metal are signs that they have had their picture taken with the camera and they've been changed. They didn't get the full process, but okay. Maybe experiments.
That's a good way of explaining those 2 clues away. That's for sure. Like they're the sort of experimental, like they they had their picture taken by the Whaley camera, but not the full effect happens. They were just changed. So I like that as a sort of, not really part of the process, but explaining away these two clues so that you get credit for them. We could put a mark for now unless somebody comes up with a better idea.
For the bronze pyramid, the warm one we found in the astral
that was in the astral plane room as well.
plane room.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could that suggest a means by which these people in the society are getting in contact with these spirits? Like imagine the pyramid hat, like it's signifying some sort of psychic link or encouraging otherworldly tethers.
Okay, so I like that. We'll put a check there for now. Okay, we're good start.
That would then open up the door to them being mentally possessed by people who speak a dead language or know the process in which they don't.
Oh, so you're saying that opened them up to speaking the dead language. Intriguing.
That there's the channel open with that, like.
I think that's good. Intriguing. Any other thoughts?
Yes, the series of veils are essentially filters put over the lens, and you have to do them in a sequence in order to photograph the astral plane, or to open, the fragrant void. Rather, you have to open that up to the fragrant void.
Yeah,
and the
like
spices themselves are emanating from that fragrant void.
Oh, that's what it smells like. Oh, interesting. That is the fragrance of the fragrant void.
That or someone trying to cover up the.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Intriguing. What about? I think we can mark that first clue as a freebie. To be honest, what about the ecstasies of Pythia and the orrery?
I like the ecstasies of Pythia. If it's opening up a doorway to a different realm, I like the idea of that kind of speech or a cadence or something like that, further unlocking it in their brain. Like it's
ritual.
Yeah, a ritual in which like the actual passage is marked or in a certain order or something like that.
Like a mnemonic device. Like these are the words that they say to open the interesting.
Intriguing. I like it. And I like the connection to Pythia as well, because it suggests that the Pythia has like had these connections to other realms, right? Like I think that's intriguing. And that's where they got their insight from or whatever.
Now, Hargrave House has a history with the Whaley camera, so it's possible that orrery depicting other realms, we might have some evidence or books relating to not necessarily the fragrant void, but potentially other worlds mentioned in this orrery. They're kind of tying it all together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's almost certainly true, but I'm curious, like, what's the connection to the process, if any? That's the question I have. Like, if we're just thinking about process, because right now it seems like the process is quite simply, you cover the lens with the veils in a certain order. You use the pyramid to open up your mind to the psychic realm, and
then use the orrery as a process, much like adjusting a telescope. You put different
okay,
or to help you
channel
help you visualize.
Help you visualize it. So between that, so we have so let's review. So the first clue's a gimme. I'm not worried about that one. The members of the Society Obscura speaking a dead language just shows that the members of the Society Obscura have been opened up to like psychic inhabitation, right? So I think that's great. The albino peacock and the corrupted metal were photographed with the Whaley camera, but the process wasn't done correctly, and so they were changed but not transported anywhere. The pyramid, we think, is a focal point for a sort of focal point for sort of unlocking psychic power, right? And in terms of the actual process, the hard process, the veils are important. You put the veils over the lens as a sort of filter in a certain order. And then the warm spice smell, I like the idea of just maybe the last writings of Whaley indicated this as well, like talked about this a little bit, which would connect up with the idea that this is maybe this is kind of what the fragrant void smells like to us, and that's why it's called the fragrant void, because it smells good, right? The ecstasies of Pythia are essentially like a ritual for that you read to sort of make the power happen with the camera. And you have to move the orrery into a certain position in order to get which opens up the realm. So the ecstasies of Pythia, the orrery, and the veils are truly the three key parts of the process, right? Everything else is sort of explained away, which I think is good. And so that if everyone agrees, I think that's great. It puts your die roll at +1. So whoever wants to take that roll, by all means.
Take it away. I feel like the dice are not going to do me any favors on my next roll. I don't know.
Go for it, Drew.
9.
9. Per the move, the solution is correct, and the opportunity can be pursued. I will add an unwelcome complication to the answer, or pursuing the opportunity will be more dangerous. I think we're going to go with the second part of that, the more dangerous aspect. But the opportunity is unlocked, meaning then there are 2 opportunities. You can try to reverse the process to bring Penelope Levy back. That resolves the threat. Or you can transport yourself to the fragrant void and make contact with the entity there. And that may or may not resolve the threat, but it does give you access to a custom move. So
let's go void walking.
Yes. So those are some things there. Let's get back to this dusk phase. So what about night work and
let me send out
and the resurrectionists.
Send my grave diggers, bring me some guts and keep quiet about it. Make sure there's no traces.
Okay, so they're going out doing work for you on the side.
Yep, I'm choosing the face no blowback option.
Indeed. Unquenchable thirst. You don't have any conditions that apply, so no worries there, Mr. Gennadios. And so in that case, let's move on. Let's talk about Hargrave House with a paint the scene question. We're going to do. There are only 2 left. Let's do the kitchen. The kitchen existed long before the rest of Hargrave House, having been part of a pub that stood on the spot before Belgravia was redeveloped to be a residential district. What do you see in the kitchen that reminds you of this fact, that it's older than the rest of the house?
There is an oven bricked into a good solid third or half of the kitchen that is far too large for a household this size, but also very oven-fed, coal-fed sort of fires.
Yeah, it's like for a business, not like a residence. Yeah, it's good.
I like the idea of there being whatchamacallit, hooks that are hammered into different sides of the kitchen to hold way more things than a normal kitchen would hold for all the fry cooks and whatnot to get at.
There is an ash pit, and occasionally in clearing out the ashes, somebody pulls out a Roman artifact, and one day they pull out a coin that has a face on it that looks disturbingly like Mr. Gennadios.
Nice. Good.
Every time you enter the kitchen, you have to duck under what used to be the upper shelves of the bar where all the glasses were hung.
Good. Let's go around the table. Everyone say what you're going to be doing during the night phase. Let's go with Mr. Gennadios. What are you going to do?
Going to the Society Obscura.
Are you sure you don't want to come get fit for fancy clothes?
Fairly sure.
Willoughby, are you going to go get fancy clothes?
It certainly is very tempting, but no, I think I would follow my employer to the Obscura.
Very good. Dr. Takor?
I'm gonna go try and walk in a void.
Oh, very good. Mr. Turner?
If everyone's doing that, it might be fun to go try, or can we try to deal with two threats at the same time?
Yes. Mhm.
It'd be cool to try to do that then, because I'd like to get obliterated in a cool way.
So you are going to go try to resolve the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. What specifically are you going to go do?
Well, it seems like luring it to me would be good. And then I guess there's no third option where we get it to we're at same purposes. We both want to kill Theodora.
Well,
Is
you don't
there
know that yet. Well, I think y'all's relationship with Theodora is not quite that hostile yet. Mr. Gennadios is kind of is, but I would the options are get it to go away or destroy it.
I would say get it to go away then, I think.
So what are you going to be doing? Just kind of calling out to it or what?
Yeah, I think maybe it's a traditional ghost story in which I go to it and the understanding of what it's trying to get across is the thing that it needs, maybe, to be understood.
Good. And anybody want to change their plans, or does everybody feel good? Willoughby?
I would revise to say, like halfway down the lane, realizing that Mr. Turner is going to go summon a fish monster on his own, that I would accompany him as just good faith in trying not to see him et.
I love it. Very good. And good. Let us go to the next part, which is I don't think we have any Janus masks that are unresolved right now, do we? In that case,
I do.
Oh, do you? What is it? Oh, that's
I
right. You
do.
marked one. Yeah, read it to us and do it.
Narrate a flashback to when you first met the person you fell madly in love with. And this was maybe a decade ago in London, so the scenery will be fairly familiar. And Alexander is in a rather lavishly decorated study when a group of variously socially placed people burst into the room with weapons drawn, and there's a skirmish between his people and these people, and it is during a fight where he is hopelessly outmatched with a younger man. Oh, that doesn't say much, I guess, but a man that he makes eye contact with him, and Alexander is just lost. And he is silent even as the man's sword pierces his shoulder. And the man says something about, "You don't mess with Hargrave House."
Good. Let's introduce the unseen. Our unseen for tonight is going to be, I'm going to go to the London at Night tab and follow along. We're going to do A Drink at the Four Magpies. That is the towards the bottom, second row from the bottom on the far right. The Four Magpies is a pub popular with working class gay men, run by the butch landlady Polly O'Donnell. While it seems like any other cramped, rowdy, spit and sawdust pub, it is an oasis of relative safety in a dangerous city. Polly does what she can to protect her boys. There are a few small rooms available upstairs, and some of the lads make a bit of extra coin entertaining wealthier guests. The paint the scene, of course, is for everyone. And then the second prompt will be Fraser. Third prompt will be Sarah. And the last one will be Drew. And let's take a shorter break now, just so you can be thinking about your prompts, like just a 3-minute break. We'll come back and do the night phase. I have quite a night phase planned for you all. Things may not go as you wish. But for now, let's talk about the Four Magpies. Everybody, describe a moment we see of men sharing a moment of intimacy that would be unwise to do elsewhere.
I think the bathroom has been co-opted into a communal space, and to the left of the urinals or whatever, there's like mirrors set up and people are applying different makeups to each other, and everyone's coming and going just like it is a communal space and not just a bathroom.
I know what those bathrooms are like. Go ahead, Sarah.
We see at a table in a corner, one young male patron tuck the hair behind an ear of another.
Nice.
There are a couple of male patrons dancing quite slowly in the near the. I guess it's not a jukebox, is it?
There'd be like a fiddle player maybe or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian?
Yep. I'll wrap up the music there. There's an older fellow who's playing the ulan pipes, those ones where you have a bellows underneath your arm to inflate the bag. And when he takes a break from playing the music, a younger man kind of like curls up in his lap and, just intimately kind of embraces him in a way that you just wouldn't see elsewhere in London.
You are all getting ready to, you're gathering your things, getting ready to go out to either Cremorne Gardens or Chelsea Harbour near Cremorne Gardens, or the Society Obscura. Before you get out of the house, though, Dr. Tagore, someone's in your secret lab. You hear them.
What? In my secret lab? Is anyone else present? Like, do I have to disguise this from others?
I mean, you can get to the secret lab without the others knowing, but you might suddenly be like kind of like distracted or nervous, and that might draw attention to you, right? From the others.
Got it. I just remembered something I need upstairs. I'll be back.
Where is the secret lab roughly in the house?
Where I'm reconstructing the child is sort of in a subfloor beneath my room, as I think what we had said. Like
I see. Okay, yeah.
It's a low ceilings,
like a little
space,
space.
Like
Oh, intriguing. Yeah, you hear someone walking around up there.
Yeah, I need to go tend to something before I can join you at the Society Obscura. Away I go.
Willoughby, someone is ringing the bell. Ding, 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 ding.
Willoughby casts a look back to Mr. Turner and then heads to the door, opens it. Yes, what?
There is a woman there. She has a very dour expression, but she's wearing the most extravagant hat you've seen in some time. A great gigantic confection of purple and lavender silk feathers and things.
Willoughby immediately, just to the hat, bows at the waist. Forgive me, madam, I thought you were the gardener.
The gardener. Well, I've been mistaken for a great many things, and my last name is Thorn. Well, the joke is really complete, full circle. I'm Violet Thorn.
Oh, your wit is as sharp as your hat.
She says, well, do I need to give you my invitation? How does this work?
Of course. Forgive me, you're here to see...
Oh, well, I'm here for the private fashion show.
I would love to see your invitation.
She gives you an invitation. It's
our address.
It has your address.
Yes, yes, of course it does.
It has beautiful vines and floral border on the card, and this is around the time. Well, she's a little early, in fact. She says, well, and she gives you her coat, and she says, I'm drinking port tonight.
Marvelous. We have several excellent vintages. To the salon.
She goes and she'll pass Mr. Turner and Mr. Gennadios, and she'll say, are you here for the fashion show as well?
I'm trying really hard to subtly hand off the invitation to either of them while making eyes behind her face.
While the door
Alexander
is
will be
open,
complete.
Go ahead, Alexander.
He'll be completely like ambivalent, completely unaware of what you're trying to get at, and just like,
I'll take the invitation to look at it, and then say, oh, whoever's created this invitation clearly misread the dates.
You hear a knock, 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 knock. There's a man poking his head through the open door. I'm here for the fashion show.
Willoughby, at a loss at what else to do, begins to gather coats and take greeting, and hoping that the gentlemen around them figure out a solution to this predicament.
This new gentleman comes up to you, Mr. Gennadios, and says, I'm Orrin Blackwood, the playwright. Perhaps you've heard of me.
he'll look the man up and down and say, and?
Oh, well, I wanted to make your acquaintance.
Oh. Consider it made. Willoughby, what is going on?
Orrin Blackwood, magnificent nest of feathery hair, a bright silk vest, ink-stained fingers.
Oh, Mr. Gennadios, sir, here is a glass of port for you, and I have a few other guests to attend to. Just bluster off.
Sarah, I'm getting like a weird little feedback on yours whenever I talk. I don't know what it is, but maybe your mic needs to be adjusted or something.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Someone else would have to be talking, I think.
Jason, you were muted in that last.
Oh, I was muted. Oh, Willoughby or Sarah, unmute real quick.
Testing.
Okay, I'm talking. I think it's okay now. Yeah, okay. It was just some whistly little weird. Oh no, there it is again. Yeah, it's probably okay. It's not a big deal. Just so, Mr. Gennadios, you have what do you do with this playwright again?
If he's being persistent, he will he'll do his best to be cordial, but not particularly warm. He's
how are you dressed right now, Mr. Gennadios? What are you wearing?
considering where they were going, he's not dressed for a fashion show. This was all dark, like a black suit, black shirt, very practical clothing for perhaps entering another dimension.
He says, I can tell that you must be here to sort of freshen up your wardrobe, something a little more exciting than your current monochromatic look.
Well, I suppose I have some time. Excuse me one moment, good sir. And he will go upstairs. Costume change.
Does the invitation say any specifics about the fashion show?
It just says to be here at this time for a display of sartorial, for a sartorial display unrivaled in all of London.
Willoughby may have been planning to use their ability of My Person Friday to dip out to the fashion appointment that they thought they were going to. So underneath a very practical coat, there is quite the outfit.
Indeed. Dr. Tagore, you said you're going into your lab, your little subspace beneath your room.
Yes.
I imagine it's a pretty tight space the way you've described it now. It's like you almost like
Low ceiling, hard to stand up.
Yeah, hard to stand, yeah. You will see sitting next to the child is a woman, middle-aged, but quite beautiful, despite being a little older than the debutantes that you frequently run into. She is wearing layer upon layer of fine silk veils, scarves, like gowns with lots of layers of taffeta and things like that, right? She looks almost like fashion has been piled on top of her. And she says, these threads you're using here to connect these various parts, I fear they probably are not going to hold in the long run. You might want some tougher stuff. I happen to know something about threads.
Mm-hmm. You seem to know something about breaking and entering, too. You're in a very private space, a sanctum sanctorum.
I didn't break anything, though I did enter. Who is she?
Well, I have places to be. You should show me your thread, but time is of the essence.
And taking a look at your body parts, do you have a head currently?
I do. I'm lacking a heart, guts, and lungs.
She puts her fingers on the child's cheek and says, she's lovely. Who is she?
It's more who she will be. I'm restoring her potential. I'm going to carefully tuck the hair back behind her ear where it belongs.
Let's go to the next. Go back to the magpies, the Four Magpies. Fraser, Curtis Jackson is a young barrow boy who has heard rumors of the Four Magpies but never visited before. How do we see him make his first nervous steps inside? And how is he drawn in?
I think he's drawn in by a song, probably something that was like homophobic that's been reclaimed, and like the wording's changed and the vibe of the whole song has been changed. And that's like, at first he was a little bit repelled because he knew this song, but then once he's noticed the changes, it's a come hither instead. And so I think it's sort of like the camera looks at his boots that are like weather worn and all scuffed up and stuff, and it goes from him being very unsure of his steps to very clear as he enters into the place.
Good. Mr. Gennadios, tell us about your costume change.
He rushes into his room and he's already, getting out of what he's wearing. He walks up to the mirror as he's shucking his clothing and very quickly puts some dark eyeliner on and powders his cheeks a bit, straightens out his beard, and then he comes back down in a very sharply angled corset over top a frilly, puffy white shirt and a heavily detailed embroidered kind of vest or a long coat without sleeves and very well fit pants and a nice walking stick and a hat tilted at the perfectly jaunty angle. And he will come down the stairs with one hand on the balustrade, just, expecting to be looked at.
Oren Blackwood says, well, that is quite a costume change for the first act. I'm impressed. Perhaps you don't really need to be here after all.
Well, and he's kind of panting a little bit. Perhaps not, but I am intrigued about the second act now.
Where is here, by the way? Who owns this, frankly, terrifying house?
Terrifying? What an interesting way to describe it.
Well, it's perfectly morose, isn't it? Gothic horror. Maudlin.
I like to think of it as having character, even if that character is somewhat more gothic than expected.
Violet Thorne walks up to you, Willoughby. She has a cane as well. And she says, that port we discussed.
I produce a glass from behind my back, brought from Alta Douro last week. Honestly, best cask I've seen come in the last 6 months prior. Please, enjoy.
Not partial to Spanish wines, but I suppose I'll...
No, Oporto, it's Portugal. Completely different. But you know that already.
Is it? And then she goes to take her sip.
It's a marvelous port.
The doorbell rings. Ding, 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 ding. Mr. Turner, what are you doing right now?
Once again.
Did you say me?
Yeah, I'm just curious what you're up to.
Oh, maybe I'll go outside to try to head to others to the pass and like just tell people arriving in carriages that the night has been changed so that they'll continue on or something.
So I think one more guest slips in before that. That's the door you're answering right now, Willoughby. And that guest is a young socialite. She's statuesque in her corset and shawl, extravagant jewelry, quite heavy eyeshadow, actually. And she's actually holding a cigarette. And she says, is this where the fashion show is supposed to be?
Yes, of course. Hello. Greetings.
My God, look at this place. Sorry, I don't mean to impugn your talents as a butler or whatever you are.
The abysmal decor is to highlight the sublime fashion. Please let me take your coat.
Oh, yes, a juxtaposition. I like that. That's very smart. It's very clever. All right, here you go. She gives you her little shawl.
Mm.
Says, well, what do we have to drink around here?
What is your pleasure, my lady?
Oh, I have many, many, many pleasures.
I bet you do. I have a wonderful port, nearly a week out of cask.
She says, that's sort of an old lady drink, don't you think? I'm not getting ready to go to bed.
Champagne for you then. And I kind of hustle her into the salon so I do not have to continue to make conversation.
Fair enough. Another cab is pulling up. Clop, 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 Mr. Turner. A man sticks his head out. You can smell him before you see him because of his quite powerful perfume. He says, is this where the fashion show is going to be tonight?
It's been changed to another night.
Well, I could have swore I saw other people being dropped off.
They were dropped off, but they shall be leaving shortly.
Oh, well, so there are people here then.
Only for a moment, sir.
Well, I've come all this way, and I have to pay the hansom cab driver, so perhaps I should come in and have a drink.
I don't have a retort to that. It would just be rude.
I'm Vincent Pomeroy, and you are?
Your handsome can has ruined my boots. Look at them.
Oh, I'm very sorry. You shall. Well, don't you have a man who can take care of that for you?
Oh, I shake his hand very hard.
He says, well, look at this place. My gosh, it's like I fully expect the Hunchback of Notre Dame to come scaling down the wall.
Well, this whole event is a terrible mistake. You might even do better going to the opera or anywhere else other than here right this moment, I swear it.
He says, I like you.
Well, I suppose you better have a drink then. Let me escort you.
Dr. Tagore, this woman who's up in your little cramped crawl space with the child, she says, so you are creating life.
I kind of looked nervously away. Not yet, but soon.
There is an artistry in what you're doing. I can tell that this work is very important to you. I consider myself a bit of an artist.
Yes, and you mentioned thread. I do enjoy learning new techniques.
Well, I sort of create new life as well. I can turn a drab spinster into the belle of the ball.
Are you affiliated with those Sandula sisters?
Oh yes, of course, yes. They work for me at my shop.
All right. Well, you can see I do need a garment for this figure, but you seem to imply sutures of a stronger material.
Oh yes. I have thread that
curious
work
about those.
Yes, and she produces a spool of silver thread from the folds of her garment, the layers of her garments. She says, you'll find nothing stronger.
Scrutinize it with an intense scrut, and then, assuming it passes muster, do a quick removal and change on say the feet that I attached yesterday. Try and resew and see if it passes muster.
She says, there, you see, it's much finer than what you were using. It practically disappears, and it's much, much stronger.
I'll do a quick calculation in my head. I need 6 more spools at least, 7 if you have them.
Of course.
7's a good number, right?
And she produces 6 more spools of silver thread. You can add spools of silver thread to your personal quarters. And she says, my followers, many of whom are here right now, they all have exceptional taste, never settling for the drab and mundane things of this world. They come to me because I offer a chance to be transformed into the person they always dreamed of being. Tell me, Dr. Tagore, what does your heart truly desire?
I mainly need to give my sister another chance to make amends. Perhaps a bit of renown for bringing life back to flesh wouldn't hurt.
She says, there have been incredible advances in the therapeutic sciences.
What do you mean by therapeutic?
Yeah. Maybe you just need to talk to someone.
Oh, I have work to do. There's time for that later.
Very well. I do too. My audience awaits. And here we shall go back to the Four Magpies. Sarah, a well-dressed toff, enters the pub, clearly cruising for trade, which eager lads compete, good-naturedly or otherwise, for his attention, and who just scoffs at him.
The younger boys, maybe posted up at the bar, are eyeing up this young toft as an easy meal, and smiling and flirting as best they can from afar. But those who have seen a trick or two scoff in his direction, knowing that this gentleman in particular has a soft fortitude and a quick temper. It isn't worth the trouble.
Good. And we'll conclude in the middle of the night phase with Vincent Pomeroy, arm around Mr. Turner's shoulder, coming into this dreadful Gothic manner. Willoughby fetching after.
Trays of drinks.
Yes.
Just a series of veils cuffed and buckled in strange places. Avant-garde.
Violet Thorne and Orrin Blackwood are complimenting Mr. Gennadios on his fashion choices. They're very impressed. They even wonder if he's one of the models.
He would be if asked. He has no plans tonight. Nothing's important.
And Dr. Tagore, you and Miss Beaumont are up in your crawl space in the secret laboratory, having whispered words and talking about your dreams. And we'll end there. Let's go to Stars and Wishes. Actually, yeah, Stars and Wishes. Didn't get to the dawn. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I think first star, ending in the middle of a night scene, truly, because I feel like that cliffhanger is, by ending in a dawn or a dusk phase, we don't necessarily get that like, ooh, what's going to happen next in the next episode. So I actually really like this stop point a lot. I also had stars for the draining of color that Willoughby experienced during, like, that was very texturally interesting, cutting away to kind of London at afar, knowing the Queen's drama and seeing some of that outside of it was fun. I just loved the idea that once again, Mr. Turner ended up singing into the ocean and producing results. That personal star, like, that was pretty great. I don't even know if I want to say too many wishes. I love this idea of the fashion moment and this fairy integrating into every part of Hargrave House. much like the Silvery Void and some of the other previous threats have done. I'm excited to see how that plays out. And yeah, just real fun to play all around.
A star, I made the intentional decision to do a longer day phase and even a slightly more casual night phase, because I think I just wanted like a little bit of room to breathe, especially since we just wrapped up Figs Pigs and kind of starting a new thing. And so, and I'm happy with how it went. I liked the extra time that we spent on some of the things we did. I thought it was enjoyable. We got to see different parts of the city. We got to see some different approaches to investigation. That was all very, very good. I like that a lot. And I'm really enjoying the vulnerable move scenes. This is a star going back, not just today, but I love it when the characters have a chance to get together one-on-one and chat and talk, and in particular I like watching you all figure out how to clear your conditions, like figuring out what is the thing you have to do to get the condition you want cleared, you know, in the scene. And I like it because you all just sort of do it on your own. I don't really like have anything to do with it, so it's kind of just fun to watch as a sort of audience member. And yeah, love being back in the Society Obscura. I love that setting. I love the characters. Getting to see Periwinkle again, all that was really enjoyable, and kind of calling back to some of the stuff that happened in the past was really fun. And yeah, I think my wishes are just mainly, you know, we've got 14 mastermind clues. That's one away from the mastermind being locked in, and when that happens, that means there are no more threats are introduced, and you wind down all the threats, and then you face Theodora. And so I'm just excited to kind of be pushing towards that. I think it's great. It's should be really fun to see.
I have a star for the clue mechanic itself. Like, it's just always so satisfying to figure these things out. It's like, the best way I can explain it is when you're like trying to do a plan with people in other games, and it's like a fruitless exercise where you're just spinning your wheels and nothing, you know, that in the future none of it is going to actually happen, except the clue phase is like that sort of talk, except that it's actually productive and mechanical, and it happens in the fiction, and hopefully everybody gets to add a little nugget of what's going on. And I like how each theory sort of like gets like refined down into what it becomes. It's always just really fun. And it happened for both of them. Like, I had a dog in the race for the Creature of Cremorne Gardens, and I got to have my say, and then I just didn't really know what was going on with the camera, and it was just fun to see what everybody came up with. So whichever the case, it always just seems to be really fun to figure stuff out in this game. So I like that a lot. And then I also really liked the Pearl, just in itself appearing. That was just a fun thing to have happened. And I really liked all the stuff that happened in the Whaley Camera house. And a star in particular for that, who's that person, the flamboyant person that always greets the...
Oh, Periwinkle.
Yeah, I just like that person a lot.
Yeah, Periwinkle's great.
And then a wish, just the same wish to get obliterated in a cool way.
I'm going to drop in real quick when you mentioned when you're talking about the clues and stuff. In the most recent episode of the Gauntlet podcast, they're talking about Lowell's Hearts of Wulin Brindlewood Bay mashup, and that uses my mystery system, and so it's relevant here. But they were basically saying how what they liked about it is the theorizing, or the case of between answering a question. What it does is it lets you as a player put your finger on the scale for the story you want to have, you know? And so you sort of like, you know, you're kind of like you're kind of telling the story you want to tell in the way you come up with the solution to the mystery. And I think that's a great, like, I think you were kind of picking up on that today, which I thought was really enjoyable. Who wants to go next on Stars and Wishes?
I can jump in. I like that our kitchen has a backstory now. There's something fun about that. Makes me look at my own kitchen and go, it needs a little more or something.
Feels like 100 years since the dapper boy and his thugs attacked you all in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Willoughby still has the grudge. Won't ever die.
Yeah. And I'm loving the sequence of vulnerable moves with Mr. Gennarios, and kind of that leads to a wish that if there's a future one, I kind of want to have a moment of like, hang on a moment. A leather worker to an aristocrat in one generation? It's just not possible. Like the math doesn't add up, and see where that goes. What else? Fraser, that was just kind of like realizing that you're pacing with Mr. Turner, the dramatic reveal of the pirate queen drawing versus the like getting lost in thought on a beach for a full day is just a fun sort of sequence and pacing that I really liked. And then also kind of harkening back, Willoughby in the last two sessions being kind of a murderous dispatching things for the good of Hargrave House, and then like being left to wander tranquilly through Cremorne Gardens. Has been fun seeing that disparity. And
then grabbing port for Violet Thorn, right? Yeah, like, that's the fun part of the factotum.
And I also love the imagery of the Sandula sisters speaking in plural, us, and come to our shop, but kind of mentally I'm picturing that thing where they finish each other's sentences, or kind of creepiness. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, Jason's always good with twins, I find.
Is that okay.
I have stars for Brian. You touched on this a little bit, but I really liked the cinematic imagery of Mr. Turner standing on the beach while the world moves around him, and that was I thought that was great and very evocative. And Willoughby going from murdering a fig to answering the door, and sure, it was with a yes what, but still doing that job, and that was great to see. And I was kind of hoping that the guest would turn out to be Tati Braithwaite, and you'd have a bit of a scene there, but I'm sure that's coming.
Stay tuned. You never know.
I'm murdering people. She likes to murder people. It could be a thing.
You have so much in common. It's great. I really like the relationship between Alexander and Dr. Tagore. They're developing a friendship, I guess, even though Alexander's honesty is very much couched in ambiguity. I like that they've had so many vulnerable scenes together. And also I really liked that the Sandula sisters were big fans of the Norns and the Fates, just big fans. And anytime that an orrery or an armillary comes up, I'm into it. So that was fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah, especially a hot one.
I think that's everybody. So I don't have anything else. Thank you all so much. As always, it was very enjoyable. And I'm going to stop the recording now.